There's all kinds of bad stuff happening in the California state legislature when it comes to abortion. We had thought we had defeated 2 really bad abortion bills. Now we got 2 new ones coming back. One of them is AB 598. Now, California has for a long time had really bad stuff within public school mandated sex ed curricula. And this is a point I've made both on John Girardi's show and Right to Life Radio, that the ghost of St. Doc Buchanan is not going to protect you Clovis Unified parents from this stuff, or that wouldn't happen in
not in our district.
Whoever Bullard High School is named after. The ghost of Mr. Bullard, whatever, is not going to protect Bullard High School, or whatever you think is your kind of conservative haven within California public schools. The California public school system involves a lot of things that challenge traditional morality, Christian standards of morality.
At the risk of being
whether you want it to or not.
At the risk of maybe being a tiny bit sacrilegious, San Francisco is named after St. Francis. It's not helping them very much.
St.
The
Francis is well, I'm sure he's praying for it, but yes. Other than that, St. Francis not doing much for San Francisco. So the ghost of Doc Buchanan does not make Clovis Unified immune from California state laws that mandate certain kinds of curricula standards. And one of these areas is within the sex ed programs. Now, I would say do not let your kids do sex ed in public schools. Absolutely do not let your kids do sex ed in public schools. Well, I'll be the only kid in my class who's not doing it. I don't care. Do not let your kid do the sex ed in public schools. Why? So, for a number of reasons, but AB 598 is highlighting another reason. If signed into law, this is right up from our friends from the Right to Life League of Los Angeles. If signed into law, AB 598 will require California schools to teach middle and high schoolers about abortion and direct children as young as 12 years old to abortion businesses. The bill amends the education code to read, each school district shall ensure that all pupils in grades 7 to 12 inclusive receive comprehensive sexual health education at least once in junior high or middle school and at least once in high school. Subsection 8A of the bill mandates that the students learn, quote, information about local resources, how to access local resources. Who could be opposed
to local resources, John?
Right.
This things that are in your community.
And pupils' legal rights to access local resources for sexual and reproductive health, including but not limited to information regarding pregnancy prevention and care, including but not limited to guidance regarding contraceptive methods and abortion. Now, information about abortion was already being mandated through California public school sex ed programs. And I'm sure, given that Planned Parenthood in many large school districts in California, including Los Angeles Unified, Fresno Unified, et cetera, was being brought in as the vendor for teaching these portions of the sex ed curriculum, I'm sure students have already been told about local resources and students' legal rights to obtain said local resources. But this is putting it very explicitly in black and white on paper in California law. California law. And let's remember, Clovis Unified does not exist in its own legal political vacuum. All you conservative Clovis Unified parents who think that Clovis Unified is still conservative because your math teacher, Mr. Johnson, voted for George W. Bush and had a Republican elephant on his computer. No. This is a state law.
Yep.
All public school districts of California exist as creatures of inventions of state government. They are funded by the state. Their curriculum standards are mandated by the state. They have to be responsive to what the state dictates, okay? So this is going to be in Clovis Unified. This is going to be in Fresno Unified. This is going to be in your public charter school. This is going to be in every public high school in the state, not just telling kids about abortion, but telling kids where they can go to get abortions locally, and telling kids what their legal rights are with regards to getting abortion, which in California, need I remind you, means children as young as 12 getting abortions without their parents' knowledge or consent. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. And in many school districts, even with programs for kids to be driven from school to the abortion clinic without the parents knowing.
That's right.
All right. So that's going to be that's not a maybe. If this bill passes, and it most likely will, that's going to be in your public school.
Well, and John, I know it's beyond the scope of this show. You and I have had conversations about multiple other bills that are currently pending in the legislature. But I would just respectfully say, look, I have good friends who are teachers in the public school system.
Yes.
My wife's aunt, Debbie, God bless her, just retired after, I think, 38 years in the public school system, 36 or 38
Julia
years.
used to be an interpreter.
Julia used to be an interpreter.
Wife.
My brother-in-law, Richard, is a public school teacher. I mean,
yeah.
There are a lot of great people that I know that are working in the public school system.
Right.
With that caveat, respectfully, based on this bill that we're talking about and some of these other bills, if you are a parent and you live in the state of California, I would just strongly urge you, really think about
the public school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And look, I understand.
Only because, I mean,
San Joaquin Memorial is expensive. St. Anthony's of Padua is expensive.
Private
Fresno
schools.
Christian's expensive. Emmanuel in Reedley's. Like, I understand you may not be able to afford to send your kids to a top-of-the-line public school or private school, but homeschooling is tough. I mean, as both of our wives are homeschooling.
Yeah.
Holly and you are farther along that journey than Julia and I. But I would just really warn you, this is not your.
It's not better.
Your public school that you grew up in. It's certainly not your parents' public school that they grew up in.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. And between various kinds of attacks on parental rights, the continuing radicalization of curricula, like it's getting really bad. So at the very least, I would say, do not let your kids do sex ed in the public schools. Absolutely do not. At the bare minimum, don't let them do that, because they are literally going to tell your kids how to get abortions without you knowing. In black and white, that's what this bill, AB 598, is going to do. All right, when we return, we're going to reflect on the one-year anniversary of the Dobbs decision, what it did, what it means, and where we're going. That is next on Right to Life Radio, a production, as always, of Right to Life of Central California, rtlcc.org.